Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Iconic Dollcast. My name is Sage, your host, and for this week's Iconic Doll mini deep dive, I'm going to be talking about how Madonna, the literal queen of pop, has never had a doll of herself made. I know what you're thinking. Yes, there are some figures and dolls made from characters that Madonna has starred as, like in the movie Dick Tracy, and there's also some very random figures made for the 1985 movie Desperately Seeking Susan, but technically, they don't really count as officially licensed Madonna products. Today, I'm going to be talking about why perhaps Madonna has never had an officially licensed doll of herself come out, as well as some interesting design choices that have some pretty controversial elements to them, as well as some beautifully custom designed Madonna dolls, and what I'd like to see from a future Madonna doll if we should ever get one. I have been a long lifetime Madonna fan. I really can't remember a time that I didn't know about her. I've always thought it was so strange and interesting that she never had like a collector doll of herself. Anyone watching this, I'm sure you know, celebrity dolls are a huge part of the doll world. From Michael Jackson to Britney Spears, Justin Bieber to Miley Cyrus. It seems like to me when a celebrity or musician reaches that permanent iconic level, they have a doll made of themselves. Sometimes those dolls are near perfect replicas of the actual star that they are made to be. I would say that Britney Spears obviously has a near perfect doll, and even recently there was an Aaliyah doll released by Mattel, and I think this matches her likeness extremely well. Of course, we have the iconic Spice Girl dolls, which are the best-selling celebrity doll of all time. The Spice Girl dolls were some of my very first celebrity dolls ever. Here you can see me with my sporty Spice doll on Christmas. I think this was in like 1998. Still have her to this day. But while some celebrity dolls can be really iconic and amazing, sometimes they are pretty bad. Destiny's Child had some dolls released by Hasbro in the 2000s that really did not work. Dolly Parton had a 1978 doll come out that was definitely a miss for me. Recently, in the last few years, Addison Rae has had some dolls come out that I think could have been just a little bit better. And of course, I have to mention that my girls from Little Mix probably have some of the worst celebrity dolls ever made. It can be a hit or miss, and while I find it strange that Madonna has never cashed in and had an official doll made of herself, being a fan of Madonna, I can also sort of understand why. Because as I just talked about, not all celebrity dolls turn out that great. So let's get into the question, why does Madonna not have an official doll? I think the reasonings might get a little bit more deep than this, but you know, Madonna is famously protective, controlling, and intentional when it comes to her image and licensing. Unlike many pop stars, she built her brand on constant reinvention, controversy, and adult themes, all of which makes traditional dolls a risky move. Dolls freeze a moment in time, and Madonna has always resisted being locked into one single era. Her branding has always leaned strongly into sexuality, religion, being provocative, especially during the 1980s and early 1990s. At that time, companies preferred safer, more family-friendly pop stars, and by the time the collector doll market really took off in the late 1990s, early 2000s, Madonna was deep into experimental eras that definitely did not align with mass market doll releases. So at this time, we are talking the Britney Spears doll, Christina Aguilera had a pretty bad doll come out in the early 2000s, and Brandy also had dolls, and Brandy has some of the best celebrity dolls I have ever seen, but this is what Madonna dolls would have been competing with. And this is just hearsay, this is alleged, but I have heard Madonna has never fully licensed herself to be made into a doll because she is very, very picky. Like we were just talking about, she is very controlling of her career, and I can imagine sitting down in a board meeting with Madonna to look at prototypes would be just an absolute mess because she really cares about her career. And I don't want this to sound like I'm being negative about Madonna. I think she's iconic. She's one of my favorite artists of all time, but I definitely understand the way she manages her career and how she wants everything to be her way and how that might cause some issues with toy companies trying to create a doll out of her. But there are some figures and dolls that were released that represent characters that Madonna has played. The first one we're going to talk about is Dick Tracy. In 1990, Madonna, alongside Warren Beatty, starred in the movie Dick Tracy. Dick Tracy was backed by Disney through its Touchstone Pictures label and was designed to be a massive multimedia event. It included a feature film, soundtrack, fast food promotions, collectibles, and toys. Dick Tracy already existed as a long-running comic strip dating back to the 1930s, including Madonna's character Breathless Mahoney, which made the property feel like classic Americana rather than a risky new IP. Along with the movie, Madonna released her album, I'm Breathless, which was music both from and inspired by the film. From what I understand, Madonna really wanted this role. She took a very low offer when it comes to money to star in the film. And we can't forget, she was also dating Warren Beatty at the time, so it all kind of worked out. Like I said, the film was planned as a multimedia event, so there were toys and figures released, including these Breathless Mahoney dolls. Okay, also, I have to tell you guys, this one right here, I've had this forever. This is an original Sage custom doll. It is terrible. These are two of the figures, and it's always just been so interesting to me because it seems like Madonna has always been pretty negative about having a doll released in her likeness. So how did this movie get these figures? And the answer is pretty simple. Madonna was contractually obligated to allow these to be produced in her likeness because technically they are character dolls. You don't buy these as a Madonna doll. They do not say her name on anything. These are by Applause Toys, and they are just labeled as Dick Tracy, and I think Breathless Mahoney maybe on some of them. So technically, these are not Madonna dolls. While these dolls are not the best, I have to say they are pretty interesting, and they definitely go along with Madonna's whole aesthetic at the time. These dolls actually have nipples, which I find really interesting because this was a Disney produced film. I'm not going to show you guys what is under her clothing because I don't want YouTube to freak out on me, but she is anatomically correct. Unfortunately, I was not able to find a lot of information about how this was able to happen, especially by a Disney production, other than, first, these items were marketed specifically as adult toys and collectibles. They were often labeled as for ages 14 and up, which removes them from the stricter toy standards back in the day for children. Second, the nipples are pretty subtly sculpted. They are not painted on, it's part of the plastic, and they were more framed as anatomical realism instead of sexualization. Similar design choices in dolls at the time were made with art dolls, action figures, and some European fashion dolls at the time. Third, and I think this is probably the most interesting thing that I found out, Disney in the early 1990s operated very differently than Disney operates today. Through Touchstone Pictures, Disney released more adult-oriented projects and maintained a hands-off approach with the merchandising for those films as long as core Disney branding was not attached. And you definitely do not see any mention of Disney on any of these figures. Just to mention a couple films that Disney produced through Touchstone, we have Pretty Woman, the iconic Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which has Jessica Rabbit, who's also another very sexual character in the Disney realm of things, and of course, Dick Tracy. When it comes to the Applause figures or dolls, whatever you want to call them, released of the character Breathless Mahoney in Madonna's likeness, they had two different dolls come out. So one is a little bit shorter than the other. One is just a bit taller than Barbie. I would say she's about 13 inches tall. The other one is about 9 inches tall. So you had two of them. You could also obviously get a Dick Tracy in both sizes, and they pretty much had the entire cast as well that were released by Applause Toys. She originally comes in her black dress, and from her legs up to her belly button, she is a cloth doll. The rest of her is plastic. And I mean, the likeness is definitely there. You can definitely tell this is Madonna. Of course, she does not have rooted hair. She is all plastic, which is unfortunate. But this is a really interesting Madonna item that has come out. And again, I mean, it just matched with her aesthetic so well, especially at the time. I mean, this was 1990 Madonna. She was on her Blonde Ambition tour, causing controversy all over the world. I highly doubt that Madonna had anything to do with giving this doll nipples, but I'm sure she loved it. it. Playmates Toys also jumped in on the Dick Tracy train. They released these very small, I think they're about 3 inches tall, little figures of the entire cast, including Madonna's character, Breathless Mahoney. And Playmates Toys also released this. This, out of the 2 other dolls that we've looked at, I would consider way more of a doll. This is a Dick Tracy Breathless Mahoney character doll. It says Breathless Mahoney, the sultry songstress. Again, you are not going to find Madonna's name anywhere on this box, but the likeness is there. They definitely modeled this after Madonna in the movie. Oh, this doll really could have been something, but unfortunately she really is just one large piece of plastic. She does have rooted hair, so I'll give them that. And she did get a face sculpt that I think they, like I said, tried to model after Madonna specifically. I have had this for like 25 years, but as far as almost official dolls released ever of Madonna, those are the closest we're gonna get. But there were some figures released as well from other moments in her career, and the next one we're gonna talk about is these figures from the 1985 movie Desperately Seeking Susan. Desperately Seeking Susan was released in 1985 and was Madonna's first major role in a movie, and this happened pretty quickly after her first and second album dropped. It features the song Into the Groove, iconic, and I think a lot of fans would agree that this is probably Madonna's best movie next to Evita. These figures are actually pretty interesting because they do say her name. These figures were originally released in 1985 by Vital Toys. They were released alongside or shortly after the film came out and were officially licensed products sold in the United States. There are 3 figures in this collection and they are considered pretty hard to find. I was looking on eBay and they are going upwards towards $150, $200, $300. But in doing my search on eBay, it looks like maybe, perhaps, anyone please tell me if I'm wrong, in 2003 there were some reproductions of these exact figures released. I could not confirm that though. I definitely would not consider these dolls. They are figures. Maybe Madonna is more open to that idea of having figures made of her rather than dolls. I think the Dick Tracy dolls, especially the ones from Applause, were actually considered figures and not dolls. These are okay. I mean, if you're a Madonna fan, you'll definitely know what this is. But I will say, as a massive Madonna fan and collector, these are not really on my list of things that I want to get. But still, definitely a very cool piece. But still, definitely pretty cool, especially because it does say Madonna on them. So the licensing, all that stuff, it gets very confusing, especially when you're trying to compare figures and dolls. How are they different? How are they the same? I guess they are labeled as Madonna as Susan. So again, it's a character. It's not Madonna. Sticking with Desperately Seeking Susan, in or around 2008, there was a Mini-Mates set of Rosanna and Madonna as Roberta and Susan released. These kind of look like Legos. These are pretty cool. In doing my research, I was not able to see any mention of the name Madonna on the package, but these are pretty cool. I didn't know about these. Definitely very striking and bold looking. But when it comes to dolls and figures, that is pretty much all that we have ever gotten from Madonna as an officially licensed product, which is absolutely crazy to me. I cannot believe she does not have any Funko Pops out. I think that is absolutely wild. And even though I've heard some rumblings about her possibly working with Mattel or may have tried to work with Mattel, we still do not have an official Madonna Barbie or doll. But there are plenty of people who make custom Madonna dolls. One person I really have to mention is Cyrus, Psy Guy on Instagram. If you guys haven't checked it out, I interviewed Cyrus and we talked all about his designs. He makes incredible Madonna dolls. He does repainting. He designs all the costumes. He is iconic. I mean, here are just a few of my favorites. These dolls literally look like Madonna. It looks like a photograph of her. I think they are absolutely incredible. I also, of course, want to mention 2 lovely doll designers that we unfortunately lost last year, Mario Paglino and Gianni Grossi. Hopefully I'm saying that right. They were incredible doll artists and had this infamous moment with Madonna looking at the dolls that they had designed. And I've talked about this before. Madonna kind of didn't give them the best interaction, but they didn't seem to let it get to them. I know Madonna paid tribute to them when they passed, so Obviously, want to give them a shout out, send all the love to their family and friends. But that is pretty much my mini deep dive into why Madonna does not have any official licensed dolls. Some things I'd love to see. I would love to see Madonna collaborate with either Mattel or maybe Integrity Toys. I want to see some very nice collector dolls. I just threw these together. I think it would be awesome if they did some tour looks. I would love to see the Blonde Ambition tour especially. I think this is one of my favorite looks of all time, and I would love to see them have extra outfits in the boxes too. If a company is going to do a Madonna doll, I want to see it done 100%. I'd also love to see something from the Virgin Tour, Madonna's very first tour. There are just so many possibilities and options. LOL, OMG, surprise dolls, whatever they're called. They are infamous for this. They really walk the line. Sometimes this doll is clearly very inspired by Madonna, but it's not her. So I want to see that official Madonna doll. I love Madonna. Even though this doll has its issues, she's not the best, I still love her. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't checked out my podcast, The Iconic Dollcast, please do. It's a podcast all about dolls, doll collecting, doll history, and so much more. It's super fun, and I think if you like dolls at all, you'll really enjoy the show. Make sure you check that out anywhere you listen to or watch podcasts, and I will talk with you guys next time.